Stan Arthur here for the I Love St. Pete Facebook group. If you're a business owner looking to connect with tens of thousands of potential new local customers, you owe it to yourself to get enrolled in our Key Tag Rewards program. Since 2019, we've signed up more than 200 local merchants. Sponsor opportunities are available too, such as our group banner ad and even your own custom key tags. Just go to stpetekeytag.com, get enrolled, and get ready to get busy. stpetekeytag.com.
BetUS.com. If you guys are betting on the games, whether it's NFL, NCAA, of course, you're not going to do that now. Maybe basketball, not football, but of course, the NHL, NBA, go to BetUS.com. You get a 125% sign-up bonus. And also, if you use this code right here, the promo code of TSW22, which, by the way, stands for the sports web, TSW22, or call that number 1-800-69-BET-US. Again, 1-800-69-BET-US, and put in that promo code TSW22, and I would really appreciate that.
I've had 27 beers spilled on me. Make that 28.
I've only got one place to go before the game.
BetUS.com.
Sign up at BetUS.com and get the best bonuses in the industry.
What's going on? Welcome back to another edition of the Evolution of Sports Talk Television here on a Friday, going live to the SEC tournament at Amalie Arena. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, here live on I Love St. Pete, the hub and Amped Up Sports. And quickly, because we got some time constraints, this man right here has decided to join us, give us a little preview of the game coming up here at 6 o'clock. Between the Tennessee Volunteers at 23-7 against Mississippi State, which is 18-14, from Volunteer Country and Sports Illustrated, Mr. Jake Nichols. Welcome to the Evolution of Sports Talk Television. How you doing today, my friend?
Man, doing well. Definitely glad to have the warmer temperatures down here in Tampa as opposed to Knoxville for sure.
I'm telling you right now, and you got to love the atmosphere, of course, being at Amalie Arena, the weather, but have the fans from Tennessee traveled well. We heard about Auburn today, and oh, by the way, they got eliminated. So how have the Volunteer fans traveled, and were you surprised by Auburn out already?
Yeah, firstly, I think that the Tennessee fans have traveled well. Of course, I think Tennessee and Kentucky fans, usually you expect them to travel really well for these tournaments, and I've seen a lot of orange, a lot of blue as well. But Tennessee fans have showed out in force. Still a little under an hour until tip-off here, so I expect there to filter in a little bit more orange. But I've gotten texts from several friends and family members that are outside waiting to get in. So a lot of Tennessee fans that made the trip down from Knoxville. But yeah, with Auburn, I was astonished at how badly they shot. I mean, it was unreal, just the fact that I believe they were 6 of 37 in the first half and didn't go much better there through the second half. Of course, they went on a little bit of a tear there, but ultimately A&M just got the job done. And, Auburn, credit to Wendell Green. I mean, he had a couple of huge shots there in the second half, but not enough as time really ran out on the Tigers. And I have to think that this obviously affects their NCAA tournament standing as well. Just a huge loss, and man, what a win for Buzz Williams and the Aggies too.
Yeah, I mean, and Buzz Williams, look, he's had this experience before in the NCAA tournament. He's got his team playing well right now. They shot lights out, and you're exactly right. I could not understand this because Auburn has that size advantage inside, and I get it. A&M is playing defense on them, but you still don't try to put it inside. You still don't give your bigs an opportunity, and you continue to clank it. And you're exactly right. They were like 3 for 20 in the first half there. So amazingly bad. They did make us a little run there in the second half, but it didn't work out for them. Tell me about Tennessee a little bit. Educate everybody about Tennessee. And does Tennessee have an opportunity to win this tournament now because of Auburn's exit, in your opinion?
I think that the first response to that is absolutely they do. This team comes in at the number 2 seed, and like you mentioned, 23-7. Finished on a really, really strong note in these last few weeks. They've got several big wins on their resume. I think Arizona is chief among them. They got that win at Thompson Bowling Arena back in December. And, this team has really hit its stride over the last couple of weeks. There for a while, I think for those of us who cover Tennessee, we wondered whether it would be the Lady Vols who would end up going on further in the tournament. But right now, Zakai Ziegler, Santiago Vescovi, Josiah Jordan-James, all of those key players. And then, of course, Kennedy Chandler, the 5-star freshman who has still not made up his mind regarding the NBA draft this summer. They are all playing at the top of their game right now and are really spectacular. I think that they have a real shot at this. But obviously, if Kentucky beats Vanderbilt later tonight, then that will be a very tough test for a Tennessee team that lost by 30 in Lexington earlier this year.
Yeah, I mean, and you would think, losing how much momentum they're going to have. And I look at the matchup today, and I didn't even know this, but Texas A&M actually beat Auburn early on in the season by 17. So, how much does that play? Do you think Tennessee can get over that hump and beat Kentucky? A lot of people, I keep on talking to them about this, and they say Kentucky's very young. They're not sure if they can win the tournament, let alone this tournament. So where do you stand on this?
I feel like I honestly think it's kind of a toss-up. I think right now, though, can Tennessee win it? Yes, but will they on a neutral floor? I'm not sure because, in Thompson Bowling Arena, Tennessee has been spectacular this season. They went undefeated at home, perfect 16-0 record. But on the road and in neutral sites, they haven't been great. So I'm really interested to see how they handle this environment. Like I mentioned, a lot of Tennessee fans, but still plenty of other fans in the crowd as well, and a very different environment than what they're used to. So I think it'll be interesting to see how they handle it. But going into this matchup against Mississippi State, if Tennessee wins tonight, it would be their 3rd win over the Bulldogs in the quarterfinals in the past 4 times that the tournament has been played. And the last 2 times that Tennessee has beaten Mississippi State in the quarterfinals, back in 2018 and 2019, they ended up making back-to-back trips to the tournament championship. So if they're able to beat the Bulldogs tonight, then that gives them, I think, a pretty good trend going into a possible matchup against Kentucky tomorrow.
Why do you think they've had such difficulty here, Jake, playing on the road? Do you usually coaching can kind of circumvent that? What's the reason, in your opinion, why they've had trouble?
I think overall just youth, that at times you've got, I think, 4 freshmen on the floor.
Wow.
Aside from Zakai Ziegler and Kennedy Chandler, you've also got guys like Jonas Idu and Brandon Huntley Hatfield who have been great in the post at home, but who have kind of struggled in those road environments. Even at Georgia earlier this year, which is not a very overwhelming, I'll say, arena. And obviously we've seen how the Tom Crean era has gone. Even at that arena and against a Georgia team that I believe was 6-23 at the time, Tennessee just did not play well in the first half and really let themselves get caught up in kind of the humdrum of the game and just was not able to get off to a great start. So I think it's a lot of youth and just a lot of inexperience on the road in this conference. And as we've seen by the way Texas A&M has played and by the way that a lot of other teams have played in this conference, it's a lot deeper than, I guess, that upper echelon of what you like to think might be the best teams.
All right, we're on with Jake Nichols here, Volunteer Country Sports Illustrated, live on the Sports Web from the SEC tournament at Amalie Arena. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. What's your biggest fear with this team how they could falter versus a Mississippi State? What's their Achilles heel, their biggest weakness of this team?
Yeah, absolutely. If they go cold for long periods of time and Mississippi State takes advantage of that, then Tennessee could be in trouble because they have gone periods of, I think, 6 to 7 minutes at points this season without making a single shot. And they can also go red hot, and it just depends on which team shows up. And if the one shows up that I think will, and that has for the past 3 or 4 weeks of this season lighting a fire going into this postseason, then I think the ball should be fine and should be set up with a potential matchup against the Wildcats tomorrow afternoon. But like I said, if Tennessee goes cold, if they give up several turnovers, which they can be prone to do in neutral environments, then they could be in for a potential awakening, I guess.
All right, good stuff, my friend. So we will see what happens. I got a feeling they're going to be facing Kentucky tomorrow, but you never know. Auburn is out. Thanks a lot for your time here on The Evolution, and definitely don't be a stranger. We'll have you back on, all right, my friend?
Appreciate it.
There you go, Jake Nichols of Sports Illustrated, Volunteer Country. Appreciate the time right there. Let's go out to the legend himself, former Coach Scouted Out, media member of Night Sports Productions and Amped Up Sports. Here on a Friday afternoon, we just continue to give you this coverage. March Madness, Mr. Leo Haggerty. Some great games today, although the first one was really a shocker. How shocked were you by Auburn's early eggs in the SEC tournament? Welcome to the Evolution.
You know what, Peter? I'm not shocked. Here's why. We're finding out throughout Champ Week that the team that's playing their first game in a very spacious, strange arena does not shoot the ball well in the first half. Auburn didn't. If we look the other night, Florida didn't. And if we look at around the country, Illinois is out, the number 1 seed in the Big Ten. Rutgers is out, the number 2 seed. Arizona struggled last night.
Yes.
You better, and again, give Arkansas credit. They had the lead at the end of the first half, albeit only 3 points. But they figure out how to shoot in the second half. And you better be up double digits. And again, watch that tonight, Peter. If Vanderbilt and Mississippi State can build a double-digit lead by halftime, it's going to be tough because, yeah, Tennessee will come back shooting. Kentucky will come back shooting. But will they have dug too deep a hole? And we're finding out, sitting here at Amalie Arena, Peter, because it's configured for hockey, it is cavernous behind the backboard. You have got to go probably 50, 60, maybe 100 feet before you get anything in the background. So it's a hard place to shoot when you're used to shooting in a closed arena as these kids are on campus.
All right, good stuff there, Leo. Do you think that Texas A&M is probably the most dangerous team in this conference tournament right now? I mean, look, they lost something like 8 in a row from January to February. It seemed like they were left for dead, and now they're playing with a lot of momentum. They're playing loose. It's almost like they've taken on the personality of their coach, Buzz Williams.
Oh, absolutely. They're playing with house money, Peter, and you can see it. They end up getting into a daggum shootout with Florida the other day. Ends up in overtime. Shouldn't even have been there, and then bang, kid hits a 3 at the buzzer first overtime to win it. This game was totally different. They were never behind. They got ahead, stayed ahead, and we were sitting there, Jake and I, going, if they get this under 10, talk about Auburn, this can be a game, and it got as close as 4.
Yes.
But that was it. It didn't get any closer because A&M found a way to make free throws, and that was their Achilles heel the other night. They couldn't hit those free throws. They hit them tonight, and that was what made the Aggies going to the semifinals. Pretty good night.
Absolutely. We're on with Leo Haggerty, the legend himself, former Coach Scout and now media member, Night Sports Productions, Amped Up Sports. It's the Sports Web live from the SEC tournament play at Amalie Arena Conference tournament, which has been amazing so far. Quentin Jackson, and you think of Quentin Rampage Jackson, but he really was on a rampage, especially when he put the nail into the coffin with that dunk. Also took a charge. I mean, this guy was everywhere. He wanted to win it for Texas A&M today, right?
Yeah, and again, A&M doesn't have any of the star quality players that you see from Auburn, that you're seeing from Tennessee, that you're seeing from Kentucky. But I'll tell you what, kids play hard. They play extremely hard, and it's a typical Buzz Williams team.
Yeah.
Okay, they're going to defend hard. They're going to get after you, and they're going to make shots when they have to.
I mean, is that really the key to the tournament? I get it, it's guard play, but it's also defending. If you can defend, you don't necessarily have to knock lights out unless you depend on the three. But if you can defend, you can go as far as you want to go, right?
Oh, absolutely, Peter. It's like football. Offense sells tickets, defense wins championships, and defense travels. If you watched the San Diego State-Fresno game last night, I mean, San Diego State had a terrible offensive game. They scored 53 points, but they held Fresno into 46.
Sure.
So, again, if you come out and you defend, and I give Coach Brian Dutcher credit out at San Diego State, who's a personal friend of mine. Mm-hmm. They defend like it's the last defense of the Alamo. They are going down with the ship, so to speak, but you just don't get 60, 70 points unless you're going to overtime, because they come and get you. I tell you what, Peter, watch Tennessee. I know Rick Barnes, his assistant is the son of a guy I played basketball with in high school. I was the point guard. He was the shooting guard. I always say, I got you a scholarship, but you made me great because you hit me with that lead pass that won the big game. So I became the star, but he got the scholarship. And again, Tennessee, everywhere Rick Barnes has been, he's won. He's won at Clemson. He's won at Texas. He's won at Tennessee. Mm-hmm. This may be his best team. He may not have his best players,
right?
But it's his best team.
Any concern about Auburn and their early exit? I mean, you have Bruce Pearl, who's been there before. You got some superstars on this team. Any concern with them? Could they have costed themselves a number one seed after this loss today, in your opinion?
You know what, Peter? I don't know, but if you're one or two, who cares? Because if you're a 1 seed, you're going to be playing that 2 seed eventually down the road. So if it meant home court, yes, now it matters, but it doesn't. It's a matter of, okay, are you going to Portland? Are you going to Minneapolis? Are you going to Philadelphia? It's not like you're going to be playing there at the Plains of Auburn. So, again, if they were playing for a home game, yeah, I would be concerned. But right now, it's like, Jose Fernandez said, I just want to get in the tournament.
Right.
And that's the key. Once you're in, hey, next man up. Who are you going to play? Survive and advance, Peter. It's all about survive and advance.
Absolutely. And you talked about USF women. They fell last night to UCF, but I definitely think they've done enough to get into the women's tournament, right?
Oh, absolutely, Peter. And I'll tell you what, Pinzan and Zanicki played 40 minutes.
Wow.
And I asked Jose, and I'm going to try to get that to you so you can post it.
Sure.
I said, is this the game you miss Maria Alvarez? And, he just said, yeah.
Wow.
We played basically 6-7 people. We had 3 people go 40 minutes, 1 go 38. So, yeah, it was just one of those games where it was all hands on deck. And I think they ran out of gas with about 4 minutes to go. It was a 1-point game either way. It was going back and forth. And it just got to a point where South Florida didn't make shots and UCF did.
Yep.
And again, Jose said afterwards, he said, hey, now it's on to the NCAA tournament. I would be shocked if they don't get in, because all that is now I'm going after the coach for being critical of the women's tournament. And hopefully the NCAA doesn't do that, because then, Peter, we'll all go after him.
Well, I agree with you on that. We've had him on the Sports Web before here live on Amped Up Sports. Let's talk about the second game here. Arkansas takes care of business 79-67 over LSU. And you talked about this coach and Musselman. He's done a great job. And 8 to 12 player rotation. I mean, that was really the key today. LSU made it close, but really this was all Arkansas, right?
Yeah, it pretty much was after halftime. And again, Peter, it was Arkansas's first game on this court. And if you're not used to it, And you're looking in the backboard and you're not seeing faces. It's not like where you're playing in a collegiate arena that seats about 12, 14, 16, whatever. Amalie Arena seating 20, and it's configured for hockey. So that basketball court, which is 92 feet, all of a sudden you're putting that on a 200-foot hockey arena. So seats don't come into play for a long while. So again, it takes a while to get used to it. Look for Tennessee, look for Kentucky to probably have that same problem early in the game, and go from there.
All right, so we got some breaking news today, and I got to give you credit. According to ESPN and other sources, a grand jury has decided not to charge Houston Texans quarterback Deshaun Watson with anything criminally, so he will not be criminally charged. Do you think this opens up the floodgates for a team like, say, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to consider trading for him, or is it somebody else like Carolina, Pittsburgh that we've talked about before? Does this open up the floodgates?
Peter, I think it'll be somebody because, and again, as I said to you, I did not expect to see any criminal charges because if there was, they'd have come out months ago.
Right.
And here's where the NFL is between a rock and a hard place. I don't think you can suspend the guy because, according to a grand jury, he hasn't committed a crime. Now, I get the feeling there will be a plethora, and again, there's our SAT word of the day.
Very nice.
Of civil suits because it's a lot easier. Again, let's go back to OJ. He won the criminal case but lost every civil suit.
Sure.
So again, it's not the preponderance. There's a second SAT word.
Goodness gracious, you're full of it tonight.
I'm always full of it, Peter. You know that. And I want to see what happens here because if I'm the Bucks, I'm making a phone call. And again, Jason Light has a relationship with Carasis at Houston.
Mysterio,
He's got a relationship. He was at New England when he was there. So again, this is something. Again, you're trading a guy out of conference, which is what you want to do. You don't want to trade him within the conference and have him come back and bite you. But Peter, the Bucks would be remiss if they didn't make a phone call to see if there's availability.
Well, I definitely think they're going to make some phone calls, and we'll have it here live if there is something that breaks. And I have a feeling here as Leo goes dark there that something will happen. Leo, thanks a lot for your time. We appreciate you. All right, my friend? Enjoy the game.
Okay, maybe we'll get back to you later tonight, okay?
All right, sounds good. There you go. Leo Haggerty, the legend himself, former coach, scout, and now media member of Night Sports Productions and, of course, Amped Up Sports with your March Madness update live from Amalie Arena. Let's go out to this man right here, Mr. Will Lewis, live from Madison Square Garden for the Big East tournament, and no games have been played yet. You're getting ready. Go ahead and give us a preview here on the Sports Web. Welcome.
Well, thank you for having me. We're here now at Madison Square Garden. The Providence Friars and Creighton Blue Jays, they out here practicing right now, getting a few shots in before the game. So we got about a good hour or so to go before the game time starts.
Yeah, it sounds like somebody's practicing the national anthem in the background. That's okay. That's all right. But with that being said, who do you think has the advantage in this game?
In this game, it's going to be a tough game because although Providence has won against them this year during the season, Creighton's got some big boys too. This game is going to be on the front line pretty much. So if Kalkbrenner and Hawkins have the game that they had yesterday, they have a chance to win.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Providence, the number one seed, they got a scare the other day. So you think it's going to be a close game? Who do you like in this game? Do you like Providence?
I think Providence pulls it out. They've been pulling out close games all season long. A lot of people didn't want to give them credit because they've been pulling out close games all season long. People didn't want to give them credit for the wins that they were getting. But when you do it and you keep doing it, you got to give them the credit and respect they deserve. They finished the season as the Big East regular season champions. So until you knock them off, I think they have the advantage.
All right, the next game, how do you see that working out? Give us a preview of that. I know it's a little bit hard to hear, so we'll
so Yeah, it should be done now. But the game after that is, I mean, it's an old school Big East street fight, right? Like
Right,
it's
yeah,
Villanova and UConn.
yeah,
You know, and you know these fans travel well. UConn pretty much had their way with Seton Hall last night. Villanova got away with a one against St. John's yesterday, as far as I'm concerned. There was a couple of calls there that were a little bit questionable. There was one call at the end of the first half where St. John's was up, where Posh Alexander, we thought drew a charge, but they called a blocking foul, and that ended up being a significant part of the second half.
yeah.
As he picked up another foul early, and then once he sat on the bench, St. John's was up 17. Villanova came back and took the lead. So, but they know how to fight. Villanova know how to fight. They know what this Big East. They know how these Big East streets are. So they're tough guys. So that should be. I still have Villanova as the winner in that game. I think they have enough scoring that UConn sometimes has a problem scoring the basketball. And I think it's going to be, UConn got some big guys, but I think Villanova pulls it off though.
What's the biggest key for, and we're on with Will Lewis here of Amped Up Sports, live from Madison Square Garden here on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television, live on the hub. I love St. Pete. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. Biggest advantages to both teams and keys for them to win this game. Villanova and, of course, UConn.
So the key advantage for Villanova is to continue to do what they do. They have to space the floor. To me, I feel like their game is the head fake. If they could get you to go for that first head fake, they got you every time. So they're going to draw fouls. They're going to get to the free throw line. If on offensively, they're going to space the floor, make sure they get the open shot. So you got to defend hard if you're UConn. I mean, if you're UConn, you got to defend hard. You got to make sure that you don't go for the head fake, and you got to keep on the ground and stay in front of them. St. John's did a good job of that in the first half yesterday, but you have to do that for 40 minutes with Villanova.
All right, and for UConn, what's the biggest advantage?
For them, the advantage is to be rebounding. It's to be winning the front line back. And R.J. Cole's got to control the game as a point guard. He's got to outplay Colin Gillespie. He's got to get to his spots. Tyrese Martin has to step up too. I think he needs, at least a good 15, 16-point game tonight in order for UConn to get a victory tonight.
All right, it's off topic here. Well, it's about other tournaments. I mean, how surprised are you? Auburn today in the SEC, Illinois in the Big Ten. How surprised are you with these early exits from these number one teams? And now, do you think, as my father used to say, parity is prevalent in college basketball where, look, they may be a number one seed all year long. It doesn't necessarily mean they can't be upset in that first or second round, right?
I mean, that can happen. I mean, it doesn't happen often, but, it can happen. I did see the end of the Auburn game against A&M. I'm very familiar with Buzz Williams coming out of the Big East. He used to coach at Marquette. I'm not surprised. I mean, he plays a hard-nosed defense, and he'll take you out of your game. So I'm not surprised at that. I don't think they lose the number one seed, though, in the NCAA tournament. With Illinois, I didn't even know that Illinois lost that. I haven't been able to follow the Big Ten
They lost to Indiana today. And Indiana
that's huge.
Eliminated Michigan. And, of course,
that's huge.
Right. They're on the bubble, so they need these wins. So basically, Indiana has to run the table in order to, you'll get those votes or you'll get that selection for the big dance on Sunday.
I don't know if they have to run the table per se, but those two wins are very significant. I think with Xavier losing the way that they lost, I think they can easily take Xavier's spot. I think that they can really do that, to be honest.
Okay.
But Indiana, if they can get another win, that's they have to control their own destiny. So they probably need to win it out, like you said.
All right. How excited are you about baseball being back, by the way?
I'm actually in shock. I thought that baseball wasn't going to come back until at least June and that we was going to lose the All-Star game.
Wow.
So I was in shock. I was here at the Garden when word came out And we were like, are you serious? The whole press row was in shock.
Do you like the rule changes? I mean, no defensive shifts. Now you possibly could have an international draft. You're not going to have men on, after the 7th inning. Do you like the rule changes? Universal DH. It kind of takes strategy away from the National League, right?
It does. It does to a certain degree. I don't know about the universal DH thing, but we'll see what happens with it.
Yeah.
I haven't really been able, because I've been covering this, I haven't really been able to really get into all the rule changes that they're making. So I'm hearing it in bits and pieces. But I like the international draft. I mean, again, the DH thing evens it out, right? Like as far as strategy is concerned, it takes away a competitive edge for the American League over the National League.
Right.
It takes away that whole pitchers thing for the National League, that competitive edge. So it kind of, evens it out a little bit. We'll wait to see how that works out, though.
Yeah, it's
going to be great offensively for across the board for both sides of the league.
And I love that to a certain degree, but look, you got to have balance. And when you're taking the shift away, and we're down here in the Tampa Bay area, the Tampa Bay Rays, they have a lot of the shifts. That's going to hurt this defensively. I think it's going to hurt Major League Baseball because I like a good balance. Now, the other breaking news of the day here, Will, and we're on with Will Lewis here of Amped Up Sports live on the Sports Web from Madison Square Garden for the Big East tournament. Deshaun Watson is not going to face any criminal charges. Now, do you think he gets traded from the Texans to, say, Tampa Bay, Carolina, Pittsburgh, or somebody we're not talking about now? I don't know. You're in Giants country there. Any interest in trading Daniel Jones for Deshaun Watson? Just saying.
I have a lot to say about the whole Deshaun Watson thing. I felt like that.
Well, go for it.
I felt like it was something was wrong there. I felt like now I'm not saying that there wasn't. I mean, who knows what happened between him and the actual people?
Sure.
But I felt like the way the Texans and the NFL handled that. I don't know if he goes anywhere. To be honest, I don't think the Texans keep him. Obviously, they're going to get rid of him. They have to get rid of him now because that situation is severed. But I don't know any owners that's going to want him. I don't know if he's going to return to playing football. Now, if he does, I mean, the best landing place will probably be, I'd like to see him in Pittsburgh, to be honest.
Yeah.
I would like to see him there.
I don't know if the Texans would, trade him in conference. It's a situation where I was talking to a lot of Bucs fans, and they were saying Russell Wilson, the Seattle Seahawks would trade him to Tampa. No, they're not. They don't want to see him do well with Tampa in conference. They're going to trade him out of conference. That's why I think a team like Carolina and the Bucs, and I've been a person that said, look, I'm not going to, I'm not going to check off a trade here unless there's no criminal charges. If there's no criminal charges, could you see the NFL suspending him? Because I can. I don't see how they could. If a grand jury says there's no criminal charges, there's nothing wrong, all it is at this point is just civil, how could the NFL suspend him?
What do you have if you're the NFL? You have nothing to use.
Right.
You have nothing.
Right.
So no, they can't suspend him. It's going to be, to be honest, I want to see what's going to happen here. I want to see if he gets traded, who's going to trade for him, how much they're going to give up, and and who's going to deal with the media backlash of all of this, right? So like, you say you're the Bucs and you trade for him, what does that mean to the women of your community?
Correct.
That follow your team.
Correct.
What kind of message are you sending? Correct. So there's a whole loaded thing. That's why I'm like, I'm not quite sure if anybody's going to take him, to be honest.
It's a good point. And I didn't think he was going to play this year, but now with that coming out, I certainly think there's going to be the winds of change, if you will, are about to come. And I think he could be traded. And I'm curious to see what his value is, because if not for the off the field stuff, this would be a slam dunk. And of course, you're trading multiple picks and multiple players. If you're doing that for Russell Wilson, you're going to do it for a 24, 25-year-old quarterback and a Watson. All right, go ahead.
He's dynamic. Deshaun Watson is a player.
He is, and when he's been on some really crappy teams when you look at it for the Texans. So, give me some final thoughts here. What you're looking forward to seeing tonight at this Big East tournament live from Madison Square Garden.
I'm looking for 2 street fights. That's what I'm looking for.
Okay.
I'm looking for these Providence fans came in at noon yesterday, and they were loud and they were rowdy, and I think that Ed Cooley's going to have this team tonight. I think Ed Cooley wants to see Villanova in the final, kind of a few years back when it went into overtime. That would be ideal for me.
All right. It's always enjoyable here, Will. We'll get you back on here a little bit later, get an update from the Big East tournament live from Madison Square Garden. Thanks a lot for your time here on The Evolution, all right?
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it, Peter.
All right, man. Absolutely. Enjoyed the football and baseball talk there. And again, the breaking news of the day, of course, if you're not a basketball fan, and I don't know why you wouldn't be, if you tuned into this show live here on Amped Up Sports, it's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. Deshaun Watson will not be criminally charged according to a grand jury. So now what does that do for NFL teams? Will the Buccaneers take a swing? We heard the rumors from Ian Rappaport. He said the Bucs may take a swing. So we'll see what happens with the Watson situation, and we'll also update you on March Madness as our correspondents are live from the SEC Conference Tournament at Amalie Arena, and of course the Big East Tournament live from Madison Square Garden. 3 things here on this Friday. We'll be back a little bit later here on the Sports Web, live on I Love St. Pete, the Hub, and Amped Up Sports. Bring your passion, bring your excitement. Just don't bring any nonsense. I'm your host, Peter Blake, and we'll see you soon on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television. See you later.